Welcome to the Center for Women in Cyber's first event, the virtual Fireside Chat. Your host will be Genesis Diaz. There will be a panel introduction. Genesis will ask our panel some questions, and then there'll be some time for participant Q&A. Now, let's get to know our panel. Dr. Diane M. Janusek is an international award-winning, well-known cybersecurity leader and author. She is dedicated to giving back to the community and increasing diversity in the cybersecurity, national security, and technology domains. Having both her law degree and PhD, she focuses on the intersection of law and policy with technology. Fatou Sankare holds a Master's of Science in Cybersecurity from Fordham University and is currently completing her doctorate at Marymount University with a research focus of privacy, policy, and data in cybersecurity. She graduated summa cum laude with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Howard University. Prior to joining Capital Tech, Fatou was a visiting professor in Computer Information Systems at West Virginia University's Potomac State College and an adjunct professor in the College of Business Innovation Leadership and Technology at Marymount University, as well as federal government staff member and contractor. Areas of expertise include data science, privacy, policy, information security, and ethical hacking. She holds a certification in AWS Machine Learning Specialty. Dr. Nikki Robinson is a security architect and adjunct professor with Capital Technology University. She holds a Doctor of Science in Cybersecurity, as well as a PhD in Human Factors. Her research is focused on blending psychology and cybersecurity. She also holds several industry certifications, such as CISSP, CEH, MCITP, etc. Dr. Robinson has a background in IT operations and engineering and moved into the security field several years ago. Her expertise is in vulnerability management, security architecture and design, as well as integrating human factors into security engineering practices. Kimberly currently serves as the Director for Cybersecurity and Aerospace at the Maryland Department of Commerce. She has worked in the technology field for over 20 years as an educator and professional in cybersecurity, networking, Linux, and programming. She has held positions as a cyber program manager, IT manager, network administrator, technology coordinator, programmer, and auditor. She maintains several industry certifications as well as actively teaches at the collegiate level at Capital Technology University and Frederick Community College. Recently, she received the FISSEA Innovator of the Year Award from NIST for her contributions to cyber education. Additionally, she is also an active attendee or speaker at many local national and international cybersecurity conferences and events such as DEF CON, Cyber Maryland, and InfoSec Europe.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Great job, Genesis. Appreciate you being the moderator today. I hope everybody's had a great day in Maryland, where I am right now. It's very, very rainy and very, very cold. So even the weatherman said, yeah, it's a miserable day. But it's not miserable now because I get to see all your happy faces. So thank you so much for participating and calling in today. So I was really excited that we were going to kick this off and just let you get to know who we are. And then hopefully when you get done, you'll realize, hey, I have a lot of things in common with these ladies, and I really want to embrace, my career as well. It's a very, very diverse career, very, very diverse sector that cybersecurity is. So I think you wanted me to answer the first question. Is that correct, Genesis? Yes. Okay, great.
Correct.
So great. So I'm sure that other folks have other ideas. My co-panelists are amazing. Dr. Robinson, Ms. Kimberly Menzel, Fatou. You're just going to love the group of ladies that Capital Tech has asked us to kind of, help shepherd this center, which we are just so grateful for. So how to get into cybersecurity and what makes you stay, and what is the most rewarding aspect of your job? So I think reason why I liked cybersecurity and why I really delved into it is it's constantly changing. So I always tell people if you just want to like do one thing and you want to just be really good at one thing and just kind of do the same old, this is not the field for you. If you're the person that says, you know what, I want to keep learning, these things are changing. I want to know what's going on here, what happened over here, what happened with this particular ransomware, what happened with this breach, what happened when this particular company went out of business because of some insider threat that sold all their secrets. I want to understand that and do a little bit more research, and so that I can be prepared for the entity for which I work. If that excites you, cybersecurity is for you. We are not the same old, same old. And that's why I just love the cybersecurity field. And what's the most rewarding aspect of your job? It's definitely the people. You'll love the people. All genders. This cybersecurity field is very, very, very diverse, very inclusive, embraces all cultures, all genders. Just say, hey, we have so many things that we have to do. We don't want to be competitive with each other because we don't need to be competitive with each other. There's so many things going on in terms of the threats that are out there, and so many aspects that have to be accounted for, so that we stay on the good side with the good guys, and we keep our companies afloat or our business afloat, or in Kim's Mensel's area, in terms of keeping the state afloat, and that the state itself is secure for all different things, including like elections. So there's always a lot to do in cybersecurity. So back to you, Genesis.
Thank you so much for that answer. That was actually really great. If we were all in person, I would love to hear all of these claps for you and all that. So back to that question number one, I actually would like to hear from Ms. Fatu.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the introductions, Genesis and Dr. Diane, Dr. Nikki, and Ms. Kimberly. It's an honor to be here for you all today. For me, I didn't really take the traditional route getting into cybersecurity. As you all know, I originally wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to go to law school. I was all into policy and law. But through an experience that I had with an internship in the past, I decided that, you know what, I got exposed to cybersecurity for the first time. I didn't even know what it was at the time. So I decided to do some research and ask a couple of folks in the cybersecurity field that I reached out to, and I, kind of talked to them, kind of like how you all are doing now on this call, trying to figure out more information within the field and how you can get in, but more importantly, how you can stay. And that's kind of how my journey went. Why do I stay in cybersecurity? I am a person, I joke around a lot and I say I'm very thirsty for knowledge. I love to learn. I hate school, but I love to learn. And that is so important when you're in the field, because there is always a new technology being introduced. There's always a new cybersecurity breach. As we speak, something is happening now, right? Somewhere around the world. And just staying up to date with these things is not easy. But once you find a passion, and there's also so many different areas within cybersecurity. So like I said, I was a political science major in college. There's a policy side of cybersecurity. If you're in psychology, there's a psychology side of cybersecurity. You can go into ethical hacking. There's just so many different avenues that you can take. And if you start one thing and you don't like it, you can always feel free to go into another aspect. And that is why I stay, because I know that there's room to grow. And if I ever get bored doing something else, there is something to do within cyber. So I don't necessarily have to leave my field. And then the most rewarding aspect of the job is the people, definitely the learning. There's always something new. You would never feel like you completely know everything. And I think that that's the best feeling ever. You would never feel like you completely know everything. There's always questions to ask. There's always some sort of gap. So if you're a person who likes to solve puzzles, this is definitely the field for you.
Ms. Fatu, thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna go on with the next question. And the second question is, what has helped you get to where you are? And what advice would you have for others who want to set off in a similar direction? Now, if I could have Ms. Kimberly start off with this question, please.
Thank you, Genesis, and thank you to everybody that is here this evening. So what has helped me get to where I am, and what advice would you have for others who want to set off in a similar direction? Actually, I guess I started off many, many years ago. I didn't really have anybody specifically that got me involved in this field. I started off 20 some years ago, and I was an auditor, and then I became a programmer. So my particular journey into this field was very interesting. It started off as programming, and then eventually I fell into networking and ended up finding out what became a network administrator. And then eventually, in light of that, I got involved with the cybersecurity, with the aspect of securing the network, securing the data and the information. So I think that my interest has just grown over the years, and has followed this path of trying to grow within the field of technology. As far as others are concerned, I would say take every opportunity you have and see which direction you want to go in. It's good to prepare for things and to see what you're going to do, but that is not necessarily what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And I think that probably echoes what the previous speakers have said. Opportunities will come up, and I just think that it's important for you to grasp them as you go along. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kimberly. And Dr. Nikki, question number 2.
Yeah, thank you. So what helped me get to where I am today? So I have a background in IT operations. I would say what really helped me sort of with that transition into security was my curiosity. I was a system owner and managing systems and all of the vulnerabilities that come with that. And immediately I thought, oh, there's a lot of risk here. I need to understand what this risk means. And got really interested in vulnerability management and what do these vulnerabilities actually mean to my systems. That really helped me sort of this general curiosity and interest, and pulling that into research with the DSC in cybersecurity that I got from CapTech, and focusing on that specialization. That really helped me grow my career in cybersecurity, and hone in on a specialization. That was really something that helped me to sort of do that and focus my research. As far as advice, I would echo what Kimberly said with a little additional flair, which is what I've done over the course of my career and what helped me with the transition from IT to security was raising my hand and offering to help with projects, offering to help with things that might have been outside of my particular job duties, but something I was interested in. And I saw a gap, something that needed to be done, and they needed help with something that was a security project or an incident or something with digital forensics. And I was like, oh, I know how to do this. I have a specialization in virtual desktops. I can help you do this. So not being afraid to raise your hand and getting involved in things. You can learn something new, make contacts and networking, and then sort of grow into the field that way.
Good, thank you, Dr. Nikki. All right, so now we're up to question number 3. What are the common misconceptions people have about the field? How can we combat these misconceptions and communicate more effectively? I'm gonna have actually Ms. Fatu answer first.
Hi, everyone again. So a few misconceptions that people have about the field. Wow, there is a long list. But I think one of the things that people kind of think about the field that's not actually true is that you have to be super technical to be in cybersecurity. And that is not the case. As I mentioned before, there are so many different fields and aspects of cybersecurity that you can go into, and you do not have to be super technical. So if you hate coding, you still have a home here in the cybersecurity field. One of the biggest things that I always just tell people is stay up to date with the technologies. You don't necessarily have to understand them, but understand how they work.
Thank you so much. And if I could have Ms. Kimberly.
Thank you, Genesis. So the major misconceptions that I find in the field is actually has to do, I'm going to say, with the perception of what cybersecurity is. And I think that some of it is contributed to through social media, the movies. I mean, we're going all the way back to war games and hackers many, many years ago. The misconceptions that people have is that we all wear hoodies and we all wear black although I like wearing black, but that's not really the case. And then we all sit in little offices and hack away on computers by just punching a whole bunch of keys at once. And none of that is truly the case. Maybe the hood wearing, but not usually. So I think that the whole perception of people in the field has changed over the years. And I think that having women and different ethnicities, people of different backgrounds, become more present within the field, become more out there is extremely important as well. The whole genre of it has changed, and I think because you have so many different aspects, which we covered a little bit earlier, about the different areas of the field. You can go into policy, you can go into pen testing, you can do cryptography. There's just so many different organizations you can work for. We have a selection of people here this evening that are working in the academic. We have people that work in the government. We have people that work in commercial industry. And so I think that we have such a broad array of people that really that conception has changed as to who is in the field and what they look like. And then how can we combat these misconceptions and communicate them? I think many of that, or I think that particular aspect is proven tonight by just being on this particular call. You can see the different faces of cybersecurity that are here. Yes, we are all women in this particular call, but there's also a variety of genres and a variety of ethnicities and whatnot. And it's really important for us to see them in positions of in cybersecurity positions, to see them as directors, to see them making the policies. And one of the things I've learned, I think, being in the position that I am as director, that I value, or I think it's really important to have everybody's perceptions when it comes to making decisions about cybersecurity. It's the way that you think about cybersecurity. It's the way that it's not, if everybody did the same thing, we'd be a bunch of lemmings and everybody would do the same thing. We'd all bob our heads, but we'd never innovate. We'd never make those breakthroughs if we didn't have all these really cool perceptions. I always hearken back to the round table of King Arthur, and I think it's really important for everybody to have a say and to contribute to whatever the solution may be, whether you're working in the back end or whether you're making policy. And I think having that opportunity for everybody to contribute and having people in more notable positions is really important. I think it's going to change the culture and the perception of cyber as it has been doing in recent years.
Thank you. Dr. Diane, would you like to add anything?
Oh, sure. Thank you. That was a great answer. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Genesis. And I love hearing what Nikki and Fatu had to say too. So I think what we heard from Kimberly is that this field is very different. And what I would like to proffer is that cybersecurity did not exist as an industry 20 years ago. Yet cybersecurity affects every aspect of every American's life, from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed, in terms of the opportunity to be impacted by malicious threats, and also proper defenses. So what I would offer up is that we are literally still on the ground building this industry. We're a little bit in, but if you think about it, the financial sector and the healthcare sector, they had a big head start. The energy sector had a big head start in terms of the culture that they have in those sectors. The cybersecurity sector, what I would like to offer up is that we have the ability now to say who we want to be when we grow up. And what I would say is we want to be the most diverse, the most curious, the most inclusive, the most fun group of people. So people want to be like, what, I want to do what they're doing. Like they're having a good time and they're like really smart. I want to do what they're doing. Yeah, that's right. Because we're fun, we're curious, we're inclusive, we embrace people, and that's who we are. And that's why we're going to grow, because there's a need for what we do. There's a need for people to think differently, which is all criminals are different. In the field that I work in, the national security field, we see that how China does things and how Russia does things and how India and North Korea, they're very different. All criminals think differently. If we think the same, why bother, right? I mean, we think only people are going to come in through the front door. or, pick the lock. Good luck, because that's not how it's going to happen. So there's insider threats. They, can figure out how to come in through it other ways. There was a research article that I read a couple years ago about how the Army invested in like a triple hull tank, which is like 3 layers, right? And it was going to be the most secure tank ever. And literally, like, in their testing phase, it was apparent that it could be cyber hacked. The digital world has got nothing to do with the physical world if they're not prepared for it. So you've got to be able to think differently. So what if there was a triple hull tank? That's crazy. It wasn't going to get anywhere. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is criminals think different. They are different, and if we're going to be the same, then all bets are off. So I just want to say, I'm just so excited to be part of cybersecurity, and that's where I see the future. And to answer the fourth question, there is where they see the future of the job market. This job market extends into every single sector, whether you're in manufacturing, whether you're in telecommunications or intel or defense or space or energy or transportation or finance or healthcare. Cybersecurity is the underpinning of every single industry. And you can get in on the ground zero, literally. This field is only really in its nascency. So you just have so many opportunities to grow. And if you're multidisciplinary and you're curious, as we heard from my colleagues, both Nikki and Kim and Fatu, if you just want to be static, this is not the field for you. If you love to just keep evolving, this is it.
Thank you. All right, and then we're going to continue with number 4, which is what future do you see for the job market and this career? And Ms. Kimberly.
Well, actually, I am just going to say that Diane Janicek just gave the most wonderful speech about this, because I would have to echo everything she just said. I think cybersecurity is something that is involved in every industry, and it is part of everybody's life. It is something that has become a daily occurrence. It's something that when I talk to businesses, I explain to them that this is part of their business. It's just like having employees or having a service or having a product. It's the same thing. It needs to be done. It's like having insurance or paying your customers or having an accountant. It's just something that's part of your daily life. And so when I look at the job market, I agree with what Diane said. There's a place for cybersecurity in every single industry. I mean, she's right. Manufacturing, healthcare, finance, even within the small businesses that are around us, it is so important to have that particular opportunity within all those businesses. And so I also will add to that and I think we spoke about this a little bit earlier, that some people come in and they're like, well, I have an English major, or I like journalism, or I'm in I'm into science or whatever. You can definitely couple that with cybersecurity and really set yourself apart, I think, from other people. We need good people in this field, people that want to be here, people that have a passion. But you don't have to just love mathematics or love solving puzzles. You can love other things as well and still be a cybersecurity professional and do very well. So I'm thrilled to see where this job market is going, and I look forward to seeing the success of cybersecurity professionals in the future. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Nikki with question number 4.
Yeah, I see very similar trending, as Kimberly mentioned, like this multidisciplinary sort of fields opening up within cybersecurity. We have cyber law, we have human factors, security engineering. We have all of these other fields where you can blend different disciplines together. I met just the other night someone who's a cybersecurity reporter. So they have a background in journalism, got really interested in cybersecurity, and now that's what they do. They're a cybersecurity journalist. So there are lots of different areas that you can come from and bring that background, that expertise, that education into cyber, whether technical or not, and bring those experiences in, because the job market is going to continue to evolve. I think as those threats continue to evolve, they're only becoming more sophisticated and easier to do. I think the job market not only is going to grow, but I think we'll see more different disciplines open up in the cybersecurity career field.
Thank you, Dr. Nikki. Now, with our final question, number 5, what is one piece of particular advice you would give to someone starting out? Ms. Fatu?
Yeah, that was amazing. You all did amazing answering all of the questions. So one practical piece of advice that I would give to someone starting out in the field of cybersecurity is to definitely do your research. I think that research is a really huge part of cybersecurity because it's so broad. And we've talked about how you can be like cybersecurity reporter. That was the first time I actually heard of that. So that's super amazing. But you can have any type of background within cybersecurity and still come into the field and do amazing. And the reason why I always say do research is because you want to know where you want to end up, right? Even if you don't know exactly what role you want to do, you kind of want to have an idea, right? Maybe there's 3 specific areas in cybersecurity that interest you. Do some research and see what skills that you already have and what skills that you need in order to get these positions. Another thing that I would definitely say is research in terms of who's in your field, right? So if you're interested in being a cybersecurity analyst, LinkedIn is a great tool to see who is already a cybersecurity analyst. And if there's ways that, you can reach out to people, right? This is not a field where you should have pride. Definitely reach out to people, reach out to any of the panelists here, ask us questions. And if we can answer them, we'll definitely be able to ask us questions because that's what we're here for. And just making sure that what you want to do aligns with what the person is currently doing. And again, industries are also different. So maybe you don't want to end up in a government industry, but you want to be a cybersecurity analyst. Do research on the different industries, right? And see how different a cybersecurity analyst may differ from working in government versus like the healthcare industry. A lot of us are also in academia. Maybe that's an aspect of cybersecurity that you want to look into. And then if anything else, just continue to also research the current trends in cybersecurity. There are so many policies being passed right now or that are in the talks of being passed, right? So as it stands, we don't have any like comprehensive federal data cybersecurity laws. So those are things that you want to look into as well and just know what those gaps are and how you can fill in because there is space for everyone here in this field.
Thank you. That was amazing. Ms. Kimberly?
So with practical advice, I think I'm going to hark back to what I said before and to make sure that any opportunities that come your way, to go ahead and definitely reach out and grasp them. I would also say to make sure that you have some type of authentic training. So I would definitely make sure what that means in terms of that is have an internship, an externship, an apprenticeship. Even if you just want to hang out with somebody who is working in the cybersecurity field, you really need to understand what you're getting into and understand the opportunities and the different sectors that are out there within cybersecurity. So if that would be the most important thing, I think, for somebody starting out. I love content. I love talking about it, learning about it, but really taking that and putting it into use, seeing the applications of it. I think it really gives you a great idea of what's going on in the cybersecurity industry. And I also think it helps spark your passion and keep your inspiration going so that you understand where you're going when you finish your degree or your training or your certification. So that would be my piece of advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kimberly. All right, Dr. Nikki?
Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit and give 2 pieces of advice. First piece of advice would be to network. Meet people, talk to them about what they do. I mean, Fatu and Kimberly totally touched on this, but meeting people who are in the field, introducing yourself via LinkedIn, saying hi, going to conferences, meeting people, talking to them, talk to the speakers, catch them after they speak, go to talks that you think you might be interested in, because going to conferences can be another way to help you get an idea of what you'd like to do in cyber. You can get a talk on digital forensics and then cloud security, or lots of different things that you can learn about and meet the people that are doing those jobs. Volunteering at those conferences is a great way to do that because you typically get free entry to the conference. You get to volunteer for a certain block, and then you get to network and go to different, you can get to actually go see the sessions. So volunteering for local security conferences is a great way to do that. B-Sides here locally, there's like a B-Sides Charm and B-Sides Nova. love them, great conferences. So look up local cyber conferences and go to them. I saw a quick question. I'll answer it really quickly. How to go about volunteering. Go to the conference website. They usually have a volunteer section, and you can just give them your information and sign up to volunteer.
Thank you, Dr. Nikki. All right, Dr. Diane.
Great. Well, thank you for that. So I think what we've heard tonight, from Fatu and Kimberly and Dr. Robinson is curiosity is a common denominator of everything that we do. Keep learning. You even heard from Fatu. She may not like going to class, but she loves to learn. That is the common denominator of everybody in this group. So, consistent with that. And then the networking. Definitely, I love the volunteering aspect of it. That's how there's another way to do it is to speak at conferences, and then you get free access as well, and you get to network and meet with lots of folks. So those are all good points. I think the point that I wanted to share with everybody is, regardless of your gender, but particularly for women, education does help. I have a bachelor's degree, and then I got a law degree, and then I have a master's degree. I was so grateful for my PhD in cybersecurity leadership from Capital Tech. I also have my CISSP and my ethics and compliance certification. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because those are all transferable skills and knowledge that you have, and they're credentials that no one can minimize. So it's like those are like you walk into the room and you can have that confidence. Like, I know where I am in terms of understanding the landscape, what I have to offer, my experience and my advice that I may be able to provide. It does give you a little bit of confidence, but it definitely is transferable. So definitely consider, keep learning, keep educating, keep being engaged, whether you go through conferences and the networking aspect or through the apprentice programs, as Kimberly mentioned, and the internship programs. Just definitely keep exploring. And like Fatu shared, she was going to go into law, and then she decided, hey, oh my gosh, there's something else out there. So you just, being curious is really helpful. So the last thing I wanted to mention is, because at the end of the day, cyber there's a people component, right? There's always someone behind the keyboard in terms of making stuff happen. And when I went to college years ago, when I went to my first computer science class, they were like, just remember, you're smarter than the computer. And that may not be true anymore, but the time it was, they're like, you're smarter than the computer. So there's always a person, doing the work behind it. Like Kimberly said, she started out with the programming, and so the reason why I'm mentioning that is there is a huge people component to cybersecurity and cultures, and whether or not how people are going to act. There still always is the the human is always the unknown factor in terms of how a system's going to work or not work, or the vulnerability, or how the ransomware gets into a particular company. So the human factors piece that Nikki Robinson has, I think she has her PhD in that area. It is very applicable. And then so Capital Technology, I do a lot of mentoring, and I've mentored people, and you're going to think this is crazy, but they kind of be like, I'm thinking about getting a master's. I'm like, oh, okay, so what was your bachelor's in? Oh, okay, but they had a first master's, they had a second master's. I'm like, so you're gonna do your third master's? I'm like, what do you know? You don't need a third master's. Think about where you want to go, and go into the cyber and go into the PhD route, get a doctorate. If you actually want to evolve, keep transitioning. And that's something that is transferable. You continue your research, you continue, publishing and speaking and networking and providing keynotes and, writing articles for different places and getting your expertise out in a broader area, but at least get that credential, and then you can keep moving forward. So what I like about Capital Technology is they have tremendous amount of flexibility in advanced degrees. Post the bachelor side. So they have aeronautical science, artificial intelligence, astronautical engineering, business analytics and data science, computer science, construction science, counterterrorism, critical infrastructure, cyber leadership, which is what I got my degree in. They have cyber psychology, which is very, very new and really one of its first of its kind. The general doctorate of science in cybersecurity, educational, data analytics, emergency and protective services, engineering management, facilities management, financial cybersecurity, healthcare cybersecurity, human factors, industrial hygiene, intelligence and global cybersecurity, manufacturing, military leadership, occupational health, occupational risk management, cyber engineering, product management, quantum computing. So in the space security and space operations and supply chain, which is what Dr. Sims, who is the president of Capital Tech, was so good as the manufacturing and the supply chain. There's systems engineerings, and then there's combined programs as well with technology as well as unmanned systems applications. So the reason why I'm saying this is because they're focused on what does the country need? What does the world need? Where are the emerging trends and where are the gaps and how can they fit in them? And so if you want to be in this space, this is, I mean, the Capital does provide awesome opportunities to reform yourself, to transform yourself, to elevate your experience, your expertise, your education, and really get to that next level in a way that's very practical and just is just phenomenal. So like Nikki said with the networking, and Kimberly said with, trying different internships and apprentices programs, and as Fatu said in terms of, just embracing the diversity aspect and the multidisciplinary aspect of the field. It really is phenomenal. And so I just give credit to everyone on this call for taking the time on a rainy night, especially in Maryland, to spend a little bit of time with us to learn about what the programs are, because it really is a phenomenal opportunity. And you're literally getting in at the ground zero almost, which is a phenomenal place to be in any industry, because as you know, everything grows. So you want to be on that trajectory of growth, and that's where you'll be today.
Thank you so much. Those are wise words from all of these women. And we're going to be off to our next slide. Our next slide is Q&A. So if anybody have any questions, you may comment it on the chat box, or you can actually, you could raise your hand if you want to be called out. We actually do have one question from Shelly. I don't know if any of our speakers would like to answer.
There was a question before that. Sorry. If you scroll up a little bit, there was how to go about volunteering. I don't know if anyone wants to start off with that one.
Yep, I can take that one. So for volunteering for conferences, a lot of the big conferences and small conferences, when they announce their CFPs, their call for proposals or call for papers, they will also post call for volunteers. So if you go to their website and just check out call for volunteers, RSA does it. I know all the big conferences do it too. There's also virtual conferences that do it too. So you can, if you needed to or wanted to attend a virtual conference, you can do either or. But I would say keep an eye out for those CFPs for like B-sides, and there's a ton of other ones, but ShmooCon, there's a ton in the area. So keep an eye out for those CFPs, and they'll do call for volunteers at the same time.
Nikki, while you have the floor, could you, I believe you have the Doctorate of Science degree, and you also had the PhD. Can you just explain to folks what the difference is?
Yes. So I think the question specifically here was about the difference in DSC in cybersecurity and PhD in cybersecurity leadership. So the DSC in cybersecurity is a bit more broad. You can do a little bit more with expanding into quantitative or qualitative mixed methods, doesn't matter, but you can focus more on different areas within the cybersecurity domain. So like digital forensics, incident response, vulnerability management, you can sort of pick from there. The PhD in cybersecurity leadership is a bit more focused on leadership principles. And for the PhD, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Diane, but for this PhD, you can actually do either 3 publications or you can do a dissertation. The DSC is a dissertation only.
Yeah, that's correct. So there's more information on Capital Technologies University's website in terms of what that dissertation process is, and they actually have some YouTube videos and things like that that you can watch too. So definitely take a look at those, and then the school's great. They'll respond with any questions. If you have any questions, they'll be happy to go through them.
Okay. And I have Amanda with her hand raised. You could actually ask your question.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. So I wanted to ask a question from the perspective of someone in data science and data, for example. So I'm not completely out of the loop. I'm part of a cybersecurity advisory board for Ithaca College, but I joke around and say they asked me because they wanted diversity on the board because I'm a data professional. But as somebody in that world of data and data science, what is the best way we can sort of be a great counterpart to our cyber partners? Because, I mean, we work hand in hand with you consistently. So I just wanted to get, a feel of the panelists of how we can serve you better, because usually we make the headaches for you, I feel like.
I can actually answer that because I am a data scientist. And I'm from New York, so Ithaca College just made me smile because that's in upstate New York. But to answer your question, Amanda, so I am a data scientist and within the cybersecurity field. And basically what I do is I have two aspects. The first aspect is really researching a lot of the data that we receive, but also utilizing that data to utilize machine learning to do anomaly detections within cybersecurity. So let's say, for example, you do a transaction or you get a transaction on your bank card or your debit card, and it's usually not your usual activity. Your bank will send you a notification and say, hey, this is unusual. If this is you, say yes. If not, call us immediately. So things like that within the cybersecurity field for companies, what we're basically doing is trying to create anomaly detection tools so that if there is something weird in the network, right, an anomaly, we utilize machine learning and anomaly detection to basically let the person know, the SOC analyst, basically making their jobs easier and letting them know like, hey, somebody's in your network or something weird is happening within your network. You might want to get somebody in there to look at that. So that is one aspect of data, but cybersecurity is all data, right? The point of breaches is to get data. So as a data scientist, and we can obviously talk offline, but the data scientists are there to make your life easier in the cybersecurity field. So if you are within cybersecurity and you have a data scientist on your team, great job. If you don't, you need to get one immediately.
All right, thank you. And then I have Ryan with his hand raised.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the wonderful panel presentation that you've given. My question is, within the realm of cybersecurity, gaining clearances has been a considerable issue, especially for those who don't have military or, say, law enforcement experience to gain clearances for government positions. With many private sponsors unwilling to actually sponsor a clearance, what would be your recommendation on how to pivot into a role that would potentially help you to gain access to a clearance and then eventually move up within the government in the national security scene?
I can take that one. So have you looked at intelligencecareers.gov before?
I have.
Okay, so apparently, I didn't know this, but I just saw it last week, piloted. They apparently have this new tool where you can kind of like go through Q&As and it will say, what your interest is and what your lifestyle is, and then whether or not, you make a good candidate for the intelligence community. So for the folks on the call that haven't gone there, there is this new tool out there. I don't have the link for it, but I did see it. But it's kind of like, an assessment tool in terms of, kind of where you might want to think about going. The other option is, you heard from Nikki about going to conferences and meeting people. There is like a huge problem right now. It's a chicken and the egg in terms of there is a need for people, but they're not exactly what somebody's looking for, needs to fill that gap. So there's a gap, there's a problem in between the people that are available and the needs that are required. And a lot of companies don't want to take the time to invest in submitting the person for a clearance or providing the extra qualifications that they may need for a particular position. So it hurts themselves in the long run, but in the short term, they're like getting through, in terms of contract performance. So what I would take a look at, Ryan, honestly, I do use LinkedIn as a good tool. It's nice to see where industries are going, where's different sectors going, what's important to them. The government is in, multiple sectors like the Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, the FAA. I mean, there's like so many different areas that cyber is a part of. You can look at usajobs.gov. intelligence careers. I think they do .com. There's clearedjobs.com, and then also LinkedIn on the briefcase, jobs piece of it. See what types of jobs you're actually interested in, and then see what qualifications they're looking for. And then so that you kind of can tailor where you're going and what you're doing, and saying, this is where I want to go. This is the field I want to be in. See what's, where they present at, or what conferences they're familiar in, or where they publish, or in terms of getting to a sense of that sector. Because cybersecurity is sector specific in many regards. And also it's very regional. I don't know what area you live in, but there's different aspects in different regions for sure. Like there's, where the banking area is more important. In the Midwest, there's a lot of cybersecurity positions in the agricultural sector. In the West Coast, there's more in the IT side. So it really does matter kind of where you live in terms of where the growth area of the jobs are, as well as who the individuals are that be submitting you for a government clearance. So I would think about Kathleen Smith, her website, clearedjobs.com. She has a couple of videos on there about recommendations on how to become cleared, how to explore that option as well. So I would take a look at that, look at the IC intelligencecareers.gov website as well, and then just look to see what qualifications entities are looking for, and say, go to their career fairs. There's a lot of career fairs out there for government companies, government contractors. Go to those career fairs and say, I don't have a clearance yet, but I'm interested in getting one. What jobs do you have available where I could actually be sponsored to get one, where they have enough lead time, where they could, use you in 6 months versus immediately, and just be honest with them, and they're willing to clear you. Right now, it does take a while to get cleared. I have my friend's daughter who was waiting a year for her polygraph. It came through, she got cleared, but it did take a long time. So she was not paid while she was waiting for that polygraph appointment. So that's the other challenge. So you want to have a job to get a job, because you don't know how long it's going to take, but there are opportunities out there.
All right, thank you. Now we're gonna go on with the questions in the chat. So we're actually gonna start with Emily, and she did write, do you have any advice on how to get your first internship in cyber?
I can take this one actually. So I'm incredibly fortunate. I work for a company called IBM. They do a ton of internships. They're actually looking for interns right now for the 2023 summer. They have a ton of summer internship programs with like X-Force Red. But a bunch of big companies do that. There's a ton of them out there that do them. Google has a ton of internships. So a lot of the big companies do internships, but there are also internships that you can get local, state, government. There are internship of opportunities out there. I would say LinkedIn, just as Diane mentioned, is a great resource for that. I would also say checking some of those big company websites and finding out who runs those internships. So if you can find out who's sort of either the hiring manager or which group is sort of in charge of those internships, you can reach out early and say, hey, I'm going to be graduating soon, or hey, I'm a junior and I'd like to get an internship for this summer. So if you just start reaching out to people, you can start to find something. But a lot of the big companies do internships. But I would say look now for the summer 2023, because people are starting to post those internships now.
Thank you. All right, we're going to be next with Colin. What do you think could be done to our IT and cybersecurity curriculum to get more young girls interested in the field?
I can take this one. So with the curriculums in IT and cybersecurity, I think just based off my experience from working in various schools, I would say that CapTech does a very good job of staying up to date with their curriculum, with what's actually going on in the field and in the real world. Like we know that cybersecurity is a really, really new field. We don't want to be learning about Windows 10 when we're on Windows 11, right? So making sure that the labs are up to date, but also making sure that the people who are also teaching these courses and are within the field, our professors are currently in the field, or also just even if they like retired, have a lot of experience in the field, because a lot of the times when you're talking through these curriculums, if you don't have any hands-on experience, it's kind of hard to also teach your students that. And in terms of young girls, Genesis is the only woman in one of my courses. So trying to be more encouraging when it's, and I know sometimes she may think it's annoying, but when I do ask questions and I see that she's quiet and not participating, calling on her, right? But also just making her feel comfortable and letting her know that, like, you know, in the future, when you graduate, like, the guys in the classroom will be your colleagues, right? And hopefully it changes, right? That's why we have the Center for Women in Cyber. But for right now, just encouraging them to participate, but also just giving them a safe space to kind of just talk about their experiences and questions that they may have. And if you see a student that's not participating, just engage them in that conversation.
Thank you. All right, next is Sarah. I'm a new graduate student for cybersecurity and was wondering if this is a campus organization, and if so, how can I be a member?
Fatu, did you want to take that question?
Yeah, so this is our first event, yay. We are working on memberships, and we will have more activities and things to do in the fall. I am in talks to figure out how we want to kind of spread out that calendar, but I do have everyone who signed up email, and we'll keep you all in the loop. We do plan to do things like events, something for Women's History Month, a cocktail. We plan to do so many things, so just stay posted. And I'm glad that you all were able to join this call, and there's more to come. So be sick of our faces now.
All right, next question. I'm in high school and I want to become a cybersecurity consult, but I'm in between cybersecurity analysis. Which one is better?
I'm going to take that call. I don't know if I'm sure the other ladies can answer the question too, but you can't be a consultant unless you actually have some experience. So it would be really hard to be a consultant without having, no one's going to really hire you because you don't have any credentials. So the cyber analyst, is understanding where the cyber threats are coming. They're dynamic, they're changing, they're evolving, they're sophisticated, which geographic area they're generally coming from, or where's the, what's the type of vulnerability that they're exploiting, what are the trends in that space. So that's what the cyber analyst is there's a lot to dig deep into that. But once you develop that credential, then you can,
most of it because I was talking to Paul.
and then once you get some experience, then you can become a consultant, is really, I think, the way that I would think of it.
Thank you. Next question by Matt. Where can someone start if they're interested in cybersecurity?
And psychology.
Sorry, screen is very small.
No, you're fine. I can actually take a stab at this one. So where can someone start if they're interested in cybersecurity and psychology? So I would say psychology is like the study of the mind, right? Of people trying to figure out how people think. One aspect of cybersecurity is social engineering, right? Where you try to get into people's minds, try to trick them into doing things that they wouldn't normally do. So I would definitely say study that aspect of cybersecurity a lot. And that will be one side of kind of just trying to figure out, like, how can you gain access to people, doing a lot of open source information just to kind of figure out how people think, their patterns, and things like that. And that is all I have for right now. I don't know if anyone else wants to add on.
Yeah, just a quick note on that one. I've seen people go both ways. So you could start with the cybersecurity education and move into, learning about psychology and maybe getting a psych degree after. I've also seen cognitive psychologists get their degrees and be in the cognitive psychology field and then move into cybersecurity. So it can certainly happen both ways. I would say that you can use and understand psychology in pen testing with social engineering, things like that. So you can do it as a red teamer if you're really interested in psychology, or even in security and awareness training programs. They're doing a lot more with behavioral analysis, which is all psychology techniques. So there's a couple of different areas within security that have, I would say, more of a psychology focus, but any of the fields within security, even when I think about forensics and the methodology behind forensics, you have to have sort of this pattern, this ideal, but to sort of find information and where do you look and how do you look and how did a person think that where it would get dropped. And so psychology touches a lot of aspects, but I would say two big ones would be red teaming and security and awareness training.
Thank you, Dr. Nikki. All right, next one. Can you be an intern and if you're not in school? I was under the impression you had to be in school in order to get those. If so, how would you go about finding places to volunteer?
I think Kimberly dropped a link there for internships, but I think the misnomer is there's usually internships are something that you might do for college credit. So you pay the school for credit and then you go and you work for free somewhere. That's the old fashioned way of an internship. Now they're rethinking that concept. Internship is just, it can be paid or unpaid. It's really learning. It's kind of like a test out thing. And I mean, a testing thing for the company as well. So every company deals with internships slightly differently. So IBM that you heard from Nikki was probably more about, hey, would you be a good fit for us long-term? Come for us for the summertime. That's one option. Another one is just, hey, we really need someone to do this street task for these 3 months this summer. It'd be good for an intern to kind of do this type of work. So it's completely depends. So there's never one type of internship. There's could be interns that are 40 hours a week. There's some that could be 8 hours a week. There's some that are remote. There's some that are on site. There's some that are hybrid. So it's very much varies, especially depending upon what geographic area you're looking in terms as well as a sector. I think Ryan, you said you're down in Houston. There is a lot of different sectors in Texas that have home bases in Texas. Including the transportation sector, the financial sector. There's a lot of banks down there as well. With USAA having one of their major headquarters down there. So there's a lot of opportunities in the Texas arena. So it's, you look at the geographic area that you're in, what sectors are really predominant, and then what the skill sets are that they're going to be needing. And that's where you kind of focus your search for internships.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Diane. I thought you were going to tell me I dropped. I was like, no, I didn't drop. I'm still here. Awesome. Yeah, I did drop a link in there for you guys. And I know it says UMBC, please don't shoot me. But it is actually for the MTIP program. And that is something I know that we talk about because it's a government thing. And of course, I work for the state. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. But that has a variety of resources at that site, not just specific to the University of Maryland. That's not it. It's just, it has a lot of other resources there for different internships. With different companies and across the state. So I just wanted to preface this by saying that so you don't think I put something in there that's specific to another school, because trust me, I'm all in for Cap Tech. So, I just want to make sure that that was clear. But yes, and as I said before, I think I just want to reiterate that it's really important to get that authentic experience, whether it's internship, externship, apprenticeship. Typically, you can do the internship and you get credit, of course, and that's really nice. Sometimes you compare it that way, but other times just going there and just having the experience. And luckily, as Diane mentioned, you can get paid now to do things. So, I mean, you're a tech person, think about that. You want to have the experience, but you definitely want to be able to have some financial gain in that as well. And Diane, I thought maybe you'd mention there's the NSA internships as well. I've had students do that. They're absolutely fabulous. So there's a lot of internships within the government. In addition, I know in Maryland, we have Dreamport, which is one of our organizations that focuses on cybersecurity innovation. And my dog's barking now because I'm on a call. And so they also have internships as well. I know that they're looking at right now. So there's a variety of places that you can go and check out that information. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kimberly. All right, everyone. So I do know that there are more questions and all that, but on the next slide, you can actually click on our link. It will be our link on, who we are, and all that. And in our email, those questions, thank you guys so much. But at the moment, it is 7 o'clock, it's time for dinner and all that. So if you can please, with your names, a good contact, just email us your questions even including me, all 5 of us, we will gladly like to answer your questions. You can either scan the barcode, down there just to see our bios, who we are in case, you missed the first half and all of that. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us. It has been such a good pleasure. And thank you for the ladies, a good hand of applause, for all of you guys. I feel so amazed with your wise words and all that. Everybody have a good night, stay dry, stay warm, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Night night.
Thank you, everyone. Don't hesitate to reach out.